Hey everybody,
Hey guys.
welcome back to the God Works podcast. Thank you for joining us again. Today, I am hosting Camilo Restrepo, my great friend right here.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm back.
And so, we today are going to be looking at working wholeheartedly in everything that you do. So, the verse today is Colossians 3, verse 23. And it reads like this: "Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men." So doing everything that any job that we do, make sure we're doing it with our whole heart as to the Lord. Right. So, Camilo, what job did you do that showed you how to work wholeheartedly?
Yeah, so back in 2017 when I first came to the United States, and I went to, I came here to Christ for the Nations. It's the Bible school that we go to, by the way, guys. And I started working in the cafeteria. You know, it's kind of like the only way. It's one of the only jobs that international students can work here on campus. And I was like, man, I need a job. So I was like, sure, I'm gonna go for it. So I started working there, and pretty much what I did, it was anything that was related to setting up the food for the students when they were coming. After they ate it, we had to, clean the dishes, clean the whole cafeteria, clean the kitchen, just make sure everything was like just ready to go for the next session.
Okay.
For me specifically, it was the night shift, so we kind of had to leave everything ready for the next morning.
Right.
So it was just a lot of washing dishes, like ginormous pots and stuff like that. And also just kind of doing like customer service. We'll just kind of go and ask people, "Hi, how you doing? Do you need anything?" And
Right.
it was very like mechanical. It was kind of always the same. We just kind of put the food out, clean dishes, and all the system. It was kind of the same pretty much.
Same every day.
Yeah.
And doing dishes, I don't like doing dishes, so
I don't think a lot of people like doing dishes. I don't know about you guys. I hated it at first, but you kind of get good after. We make jokes between the guys. We're like, man, you're a professional dishwasher or something. So yeah, that was my job description. That's what I did.
Okay. And so, out of cleaning dishes and preparing to serve people the next meal, how did that? What experience did you have that made you work with your whole heart?
Yeah. So like I started doing it, and like I said, it just kind of becomes like a everyday thing. And at first, where I was at that point, I was just very like kind of like humiliated in a way, because I was like, man, I never thought I was gonna do dishes in college. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think you're gonna go to school and then you're gonna be washing dishes every day. And it's just like I started getting a little, I was just asking God. I was like, oh man, I thought I came here to learn all these things about you and all the different stuff. So I started just, I like kind of the people around me, right. But I started getting that experience of like, man, this is just getting very, I don't know how you say that in English, but it's just kind of like the same thing every day.
Just mundane,
right,
very
right.
boring.
Right. So it was boring, and one of the things that I realized is that everyone around me kind of had the same, just like they felt like I was feeling. And there were some other guys that they were not from the school, and they were just kind of like in their own thing, and all the time like cussing out, and just the environment got heavy now and then because of just everyone just being kind of like pissed off at where they were in life. So that was a little bit of the experience. It was a good job, but it was just kind of gave God really, like you're saying, mundane, and it became kind of like, oh well, I can just do this and this will be alright.
Right, like nobody will see, it's just whatever.
Right, and it was not like, we're not making like, catering food that you're supposed to make everything look like super beautiful and everything's supposed to taste like,
Yeah.
It's food for the cafeteria for the students and stuff like that, and you still want to be good, but it was not like,
it's not high quality, like.
It's just not like, something that you will have in like a, prom or in a really cool party or stuff like that, So, that was a little bit of the experience that I had during that time, and just how I was feeling back then. as I was just doing dishes every day and stuff like that.
And you didn't really have a choice to pick that job, right? So like when you're, explain that. So when you're an international student coming on a scholarship or coming,
Right.
you don't have a work visa, is that right?
Right. So for you guys to understand a little bit, pretty much what it is that when you come from another country to a university, you're only allowed to work 20 hours a week inside the school. So if the school has anything available, pretty much that's the job that you got to go for
Right.
if you want to have a job. So that was it. I mean, I didn't have any other choice, and I needed
Right.
to get some money for my school bill, and I was gonna get married and all that different stuff. So I was like, man, I need that money.
Right.
So yeah, that was
So it wasn't your first choice.
right.
So-
It was definitely something that you just kind of, that's whatever the opportunity that was open for me.
So I guess through that experience of just going through the mundane every day, how did God change your heart in that?
Yeah. So one of our teachers in one of our classes, he was talking about Colossians, and he came to this passage, working with all our hearts to the Lord and not to man. And after he said that, he was just kind of explaining, like, if you're constantly just doing what you're doing to man and to please other people like that, it's just gonna feel mundane, and it's not gonna feel like, man, I give so much effort, because you're just doing it for other persons. And
Right.
and I mean, as sad as that sounds, a lot of times you don't, especially in those circumstances, you're not loving on people because you're having to pick up their trash and washing their mess and stuff like that.
Cleaning up after them.
Right, but he was like saying, like, when you do it for God, it's like you have a higher standard, and you're like, man, I want to do this right. I want to do this better.
That's good.
What can I do in my job that make it a lot more enjoyable, and it can be like glorifying to God? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So pretty much he said that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. So I went to work that day, and I was just like, I started seeing my friends, and they saw me like, hey, why are you smiling today? And I was like, man, I don't know. I'm just happy, like, let's do this. And they were like, all right, you're weird. And anyways, I was just like, okay, whatever. So that day, actually, the cafeteria was full and everything, and I was kind of done washing my dishes. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do something different today. So I got this little cart, and I put a giant bucket on it, and I actually went outside and where the people were eating, and I started asking people, hey, are you done with your plate? And they were like, yeah, I mean, I can bring it to the to the line where we put the dairy dish. And I'm like, no, I got you, bro. Like, you're good.
Yeah.
So I started getting everyone's plates from their table, and I started just being like, hey, starting to talk to people, and they were like, man, thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't have anything to do over there. So,
Right.
but I started realizing how, like, man, doing extra, like going a little, an extra mile for the sake of doing a better job is really making a difference, and this feels way different. So my friends back there, they saw me doing it, and they're like, oh, well, I kind of like being out there too. So
Yeah.
they started doing it with me, and I don't know, it just got more, you feel more purposeful, and I started feeling a lot better. I was like, man, this is cool. I like just doing something different and going that extra mile.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And then the part that I really wanted to point out is that when you work with your whole heart and your attitude is like that, you start become excellent. People start realizing it. And that month, I actually became the employee of the month.
Wow.
So it actually
awesome.
started, just bringing growth, and just they started saying excellence, and eventually they got to a point where they even asked me to become a supervisor. So it just, that shift, it was just like, wow, when you do it to the Lord and you do it with all your heart, it really does help you to become an excellent person.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. I really like a saying that one of my professors, he says, there's never a traffic jam on the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because
Yes, sir.
when you decide that, hey, I'm not going to look at, my circumstances here and there, I'm going to work wholeheartedly
Right.
and, like I'm doing it for God,
Right.
you end up wanting to do extra because God's done so much for us.
Right.
We owe him that.
Right.
So, man, that's so good. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you guys for tuning in this week. We love you guys.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or concerns, leave it in the comments. We'll be happy to answer that. And just thank you again, Camilo, for sharing that with us. All right, guys.
See you guys.
Have a good one.